Today we're talking about perimeter and area. They throw this in here, and I know this kind of seems like, well, we haven't done this, but we have been. What we've been doing is we've worked on solving equations, solving for variables, that type of stuff. We did two-step equations. Now we're going to multi-step equations. And so they kind of combine perimeter and area with multi-step equations. So you learn both at the same time. What they do is they'll give you formulas for perimeter, for area of different things, triangles, rectangles, right? And then your job, okay, is not just to solve for perimeter, which you've done the last couple of years, okay? It'll be solve for length, solve for missing width, something like that. And you have to use the skills you just learned in solving for variables, solving equations to do that. Here they give you the formula for perimeter of a rectangle. It's 2L plus 2W. Twice the length plus twice the width. Okay. You can also do this one if you want. 2 times the length plus width. So you add length and width and then times that by 2. That'll give you the same thing, right? Which we know from distributed property, 2 times L, 2 times W is the same thing, right? You can use that one. That's the formula for perimeter of a rectangle. All right, write this down. This is formula for perimeter of a triangle. All right, this is triangle, which, again, you already know perimeter. It's just all the sides add up. They give you the formula here. It's just A plus B plus C. Really self-explanatory, pretty easy. All right, it asks for perimeter of this triangle, so I just take A, which, for me, I just write down a formula. Okay, it's easier when you just plug in what they give you. So I write down the formula, and then I plug in A, which is 12.8. Plug in B, which is 28.5, and then plug in C, which is 17. And when I work that out, I believe it comes out to 58.3. Now, what would be my units? Units are mandatory. Okay, for now on, you need to label them. It would be centimeters. Perimeter is a linear distance. It's a unit that's one-dimensional. Right? When you get to area and volume, that's two-dimensional or three-dimensional. So you need different units. But for perimeter, it's just centimeters. That's all you need. All right, write this down. This is what we've been leading up to. Finding different variables, finding different things they're asking for. Hey, it's not as simple and easy as it used to be. Find length of the rectangle. So we're talking about rectangles. Then it gives us how big the perimeter is. It tells us what the perimeter is. So I'm going to use the perimeter formula for rectangle, which is 2L plus 2W. Right? And I write it out. Again, always write out formula and then go from there. You can plug in what you know. I know the perimeter is 42. 42, I don't know my length, so I've got 2L there. And I take 2 times my width, which is 10. Right. What's 2 times 10? 20. And then do I know how to solve for L? Have we done that? Yeah, this is a two-step equation. I look at what's being done to L. I'm timesing by 2. Then I add 20. So I go the opposite of that. I subtract both sides by 20. 42 minus 20 is 22. So 2L is equal to 22. So when I divide both sides by 2, L would be equal to what? 11. And what's my unit for this? Feet. It is feet. There's my answer. Should I check my work? Should I check and make sure it's right?
Yes.
2 times 11 is 22. 2 times 10 is 20. What's 22 plus 20? 42. All right. Write down these formulas. All right. These are the formulas for area. Here's the area of a rectangle. It's just length times width. You should know that. We've talked about that one before. You have in 7th grade and 6th grade. Area of a triangle is defined as 1/2 the base times the height. Today you're going to work with some fractions, so it's easy just to leave it like this. If you're working with decimals or any just whole numbers, I like to do this formula, which is this base times height divided by 2. It's the same thing as 1/2 the base times the height, because timesing by 1/2 is the same thing as dividing by 2. But sometimes students have an easier time writing it like this: b times height, base times height over 2. Okay? But you don't have to do it that way. Okay? You do 1/2 base times height, guess what? You'll still get the same answer. Okay? Alright, write those dimensions down. Alright, they tell you that base is 12 inches, height's 5 1/4 inches. This is definitely the area of a triangle. They're not ever, they like to do things and switch things up to mess with you, but they'll never take, say, base times height as the area of a rectangle, or that area of a triangle is length times width. They always keep that the same. So area of a triangle is defined as 1/2 the base times the height. So then I just plug in what I know. 1/2, okay? The base is 12, which I write as a fraction, 12 over 1. What do I know about multiplying mixed numbers? Okay, can I multiply mixed numbers? No, I have to change them to improper fractions. So I take 5 times 4 plus 1. So that would be 21 over 4. Now I can multiply it out. Which, does anything cancel?
Yes.
Okay, the 4 and 12, I can take 4 out of 4 and get 1, 4 out of 12 and get 3. Anything else cancel? No, so I take 1 times 3 times 21, I get 63. I take 2 times 1 times 1, I get 2. So what's 63 over 2? What does that reduce down to?
32 and a half.
32?
31 and a half.
31 and a half. But what's my units here? It's not inches. Right? This is area, which area is a square dimension. Okay? Hey, it is a two-dimensional answer, right? Because it's length times width, or base times height in this case. So it's inches squared. It's inches with a little 2 above it. So make sure you have that. If you don't have that, I'm going to count wrong. You have to know your units. The reason it's inches is because base is in inches and height's in inches. Well, what's inches times inches? Inches squared, right? The square is just meaning it's times by itself. So inches times inches. So this is area. Area is always a square unit. Everybody understand? Alright, write this down. Alright, so they have you do all that, and then they kind of throw this in there, a little extra, but it's been exactly what you're doing. Right? They give you, instead of set definitions of formulas like length times width for area, they just give you something like this. X times y is equal to z. And they say solve for x. Well, solving for x means my goal is always what? Yeah, x by itself. So I look at what's being done to x. When I have two variables side by side, what type of problem is that? That's multiplication. Hey, it's multiplication. So if I have x times y, how do I get rid of y? I divide by y. Which what I do to one side, I do to the other. My rules still apply. So x is equal to z divided by y. And there's my answer. Right? Some people have trouble with this because there's not numbers there, but it's the same thing. Right? You do the exact same thing. Here, x minus b is equal to a. My goal is to solve for x, so x has to be by itself. So I look at what's being done to x. I'm subtracting b. So how do I get rid of it? I add b. So both sides. So x is equal to a plus b. And there's my answer for that. Okay? Easy. Alright, one more. Write this down. Alright, and they're going to give you big word problems. This is actually a big word problem. Okay? And then, but I've simplified it just to kind of save you. You've got to figure out what they're giving you, right, and what they're asking for. Well, what they give me is in the word problem, they give me that the area of a rectangle is 800 inches squared. Also, somewhere in that word problem is they tell me the length of that rectangle is 120 inches. So what I'm asked to do is I'm asked to find the width. Well, always go back to the formula and what you know, okay? Which area of a rectangle is length times width. Easy. So I plug in what I know. I know the area of that rectangle. It's 800. I know the length. It's 120. My job is to find the width. So, Sierra, what would I do here? So to undo multiplying by 120, I do what? You said it. What was it? Divide. Good. Divide by 120. What do one side, do the other? Which here's nice. Here's a little nice little deal for you. Okay, 800 divided by 120. When you have numbers that end in 0, you can divide them by 10, or you can just cancel out the 0 and they cancel each other out. So you do 80 divided by 12, which you get 6 2/3. What would be my unit?
Inches.
It's inches. They're asking for width. Width is one dimensional, right? It's from point A to point B. It's not a square area. It's not two dimensional, so it's just inches. All right, here's your homework assignment.